Um, so we've moved to Street Fighter, which for me was a little painful to sit through, but I think you really liked it.
I actually did. Surprisingly, I have no idea why I enjoyed it because it wasn't good, but I found it weirdly endearing, and I wanted to sort of know more.
This
um,
show, I watched the 2 episodes that we agreed on, and it felt like I watched like 20 hours of television. And this is coming from someone who knows Street Fighter pretty intimately. Maybe not quite as close as Mortal Kombat, but I know what these characters' deals are. And I had a headache after watching this.
See, I out of the three that we've watched today, Street Fighter is the one that I have the most familiarity with
It's
because
the
I
biggest.
I had Street Fighter 2. That was when I bought my Super Nintendo back in the day. Well, I didn't buy my Super Nintendo. My parents bought it for me. But when I got my Super Nintendo back in the day, Street Fighter 2 was the game that it came with. So it was my very first SNES game, my very first fighting game. And yeah, I think because it was probably the game that got me into playing more fighting games. And because it was the one that I had, I played it a lot and I knew all the characters and I had some awareness of the storyline. Um, watched the live action film for better
Ah,
or
the
worse,
classic.
which I
The
kind of
classic.
enjoy. Yeah, it's pretty
It's good. It's
terrible, but
okay to like kind of chuckle at,
yeah,
as
it
weird as it
has its
is. It's weird.
charm. Yeah, Raul Julia sees you through that movie.
Ugh, he's so good in
I
that,
cannot
honestly.
fault that performance. Yeah. And I've seen bits and pieces of Street Fighter over the years, like from the Marvel versus Capcom stuff. Um, and funnily enough, yesterday, just after I'd finished watching the cartoon, Street Fighter 5 was available as the free game of the month on PlayStation Plus. So I've been playing some of that over the past 2 days as well.
That's a solid game. I like that one a lot. I'm curious if you remember who you were partial to in Street Fighter 2, and if that has changed in 5.
I think my favorite at the time was Vega.
That's a good choice.
I think Vega and Bison were the two that I usually went for. And I liked Dalsim just because of his incredible stretching hands.
Oh yes,
That was a fun gimmick. You could just stand on the other side of the map and just keep
and just
stretching
stretch all the
hands.
way across.
Yeah, that was cool. Um,
And how about in 5? I'm curious if like the new fighters gave you any kind of whiplash because there's some strange ones.
yeah, I scrolled through some of them like, who the hell is this? Who's this person? I've never seen you before in my life. Why is this person dressed as a schoolgirl? Who's this? um, but I liked Fang, as
He's
you
great.
commented that I would, with his amazing flowing sleeves that he uses as weapons.
He's wonderful. I
Wonderful.
wish he was around when this cartoon was made because he's would fit right in. He's such a fun character.
You would, yeah. Um, I don't know what the context of this series was. Did this occur after the movie, perhaps?
Yes, and it seems to also take place in the same continuity, judging by a few small details here and there.
Oh, I noticed like the Blanca thing about him being
Yes.
mutated. That seemed to be from the movie, but the rest of it I
Mhm.
felt like was kind of from the game. So I wasn't sure which. Like, Guile doesn't speak like John Claude Van Damme.
The thing is, Guile being the main character is very emblematic of the movie as opposed to the games. Because in the games, Ryu is the lead.
Oh,
To the
nice.
point that Guile wasn't in the initial roster of Street Fighter V. He was added as DLC.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I always
Yeah.
thought Ryo was kind of meant to be the main character, but he's reduced to like his bickering
Ugh,
with Ken in this. They're like a
and
stupid
who is, of
comedic duo.
course, I hate. First of all, they call him Ryu when it's Ryu, which okay, sure. And then it's supposed to be like Ryu is like the more stoic, serious one, and Ken is the goofier of the two. But in this show, we basically have two Kens, and it's kind of a pain.
Yeah, those two characters were very annoying every time they showed up.
Diamonds, rubies. Oh man, the Temple of Lost Treasure awaits.
It wouldn't be waiting if some bonehead hadn't lost the map.
Well, lucky for you, I've got a photographic memory. Yeah, that temple's right over there.
Interestingly, the opening sequence, I don't know if you noticed this, but I thought they were going to introduce us to all the characters, but it just goes Street Fighter with Guile, the leader of the team, Chun-Li, Blanca, and then they start
And the
talking.
rest.
Yeah, exactly. And the rest was exactly what I was about to say, because they just stop, and it's like, well, you're throwing up the images of the other characters. Could you say the names, please? Could you finish the sentence? But they
Gosh.
don't.
I just want to say, Guile was literally created in Street Fighter 2 to pander to us. It's like they found old art journals of the designers, and Guile's notes are cool character for Americans to pick. And they made him the main character of this cartoon,
Oh wow.
proving them correct that Americans would eat him and his Polnareff hair up.
He's not a particularly likable character either.
No.
There's not really anything
He's got-
to him.
He's got Sonic Boom, and that's about it.
Sonic Boom! Sonic Boom! Like, every 5 seconds. We know! Stop!
Which, to be fair, is a pretty accurate depiction of the game. Sonic Boom.
It was, yeah. But I did kind of enjoy people just shouting their moves at one another.
Sonic Boom! He who fights then runs away is a cowardly scum! Guile! Normally, I wouldn't miss a chance to fight you, Colonel. Magnetic Pulse!
This really reminded me of like the 90s G.I. Joe cartoon. And I know that around this time, like Hasbro were doing Street Fighter figures that were in scale with the G.I. Joe toys. I don't know if those were based off the movie or off this cartoon series or off the games themselves, but they were definitely selling them around this point. And the movie itself, the live action movie, reminds me a lot of G.I. Joe. So I think maybe that was why I kind of enjoyed this, because it felt like almost like a new G.I. Joe show. Like Bison could easily have just been Cobra Commander.
Right.
And his whole nation could have just been Cobra, and the good guys could have just been a G.I. Joe team very, very easily. Speaking of which, M. Bison, what an absolute delight.
Oh, he's wonderful. I think the rawest line in any Street Fighter continuity he gets in this show when Chun-Li's like, you! And he's like, yes, I killed your father. I killed my father too, and you don't hear me whining about it.
What is it with you women and your fathers?
Just a little bit more. You killed them. You killed my parents. And you drugged me. You brainwashed me.
Well, yes. After all, business is business.
Monster! You killed my...
Yes, I killed your father. What is it with you women anyway? I killed my father too, and you don't hear me whining about it.
It's just, every line he got made me chuckle. Yes! Yes!
Yes!
He's very fun to watch. Like, he absolutely steals the show, I think. And one of the episodes I watched was actually the final episode of the series, which features Bison going, apparently he's had some sort of mystical experience by this point that drives him insane, and now he wants to destroy the world. So the last episode is him basically wanting to kill everything, and having his final battle with all the Street Fighter characters. And Sagat, I don't know how to pronounce.
In the games, it's Sagat. I don't know how they do it. I didn't reach his episodes in the show.
I think they do say Sagat in the show as well, actually.
Okay.
But
He's not comedian Bob Saget. He is Thai. He is Thai kickboxer Sagat.
Sagat. Yeah, so Sagat betrays him in the final episode, which was an interesting twist. Like, he contacts the Street Fighter team and he's like, Bison's gone crazy. I'm going to give you information that will lead you to him. And then Bison in the end is defeated by his own supercomputer and dies a horrific death in which he is like immersed in all this machinery and gets dragged down into the floor. And he's like, no, it's really quite gruesome.
I think he'll be okay. His whole shtick in the games is he's not a person so much as he is a corporeal magic presence who can possess new bodies. So I'm sure he'll be fine.
Oh, I see. I did not realize that was his deal in the games. I always just picture him like the Raul Julia. He's just the dictator of some nation somewhere.
You had him shot as you ran away. A hero. At 1,000 paces.
I'm sorry. I don't remember any of it.
You don't remember?
For you, the day Bison graced your village was the most important day of your life. But for me, it was Tuesday.
Kind of a neat little fun fact. So in Japan, the dictator villain was known as Vega, the bullfighter was known as Balrog, and the boxer was known as M. Bison, as a play on Mike Tyson. But because that's a more recognizable play on names in the US, in the American version, to avoid a lawsuit, they swapped all those names around.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah. So we don't know what the M in M Bison stands for. I've always liked to wax about that.
Ah, Matt.
Matt Bison.
Yeah. Did you notice the animation was wildly inconsistent?
Yes.
Because I watched the first episode and it was in a completely different style to the next one. And then I watched the final episode and that's basically anime. Very strange.
Yeah. And that doesn't, because there's a whole other Street Fighter anime too that's made in Japan as opposed to Canada. So it wouldn't surprise me if there's just maybe like overlap with the studios who worked with those characters and lent their help to each other or something.
Possibly, yeah.
Let's see. Who else was? Yeah, there's a lot of like weird mix-arounds with these characters too. Because like in the movie, because there's a lot of cases of. In the games, Balrog is a bad guy. Then in the movie, they make him a good guy, and in this, he's a bad guy again.
So yeah, Balrog, in the episode that he shows up in this, he's literally just there for a few seconds, and he's operating a computer for Bison. And I thought, this doesn't really seem like the best usage of his talents.
With boxing gloves on, mind you.
Yeah, he's just like...
He's typing with boxing gloves on, and that you're exactly right. And he's my go-to character in the games, and his personality is he's a total money-hungry dullard. I don't think he knows what a computer is, and here he is just being an expert coder for Bison.
Yeah, such a weird choice to just stick him at that computer.
I wonder, because in the Street Fighter movie, DJ was Bison's computer guy, and he's similarly a black kickboxer. So I wonder if they just swapped Balrog back into that place to be more games accurate, but still like recognizable for movie watchers.
Oh, possibly, yes.
Yeah. There's Sagat's love of cornflakes.
I don't think I came
Did you
across
get to that line?
No, I don't think so.
I have an idea. This young one will be my, what's the word? Mascot. Yes. Show the boy back to his old room. There he can rest, maybe have a snack. You like some cornflakes?
I thought you were cool, Sagat, but you're just a thug.
A thug? My, how he underestimates me.
I liked Sagat. I thought he was one of the best characters from this.
He's great. He has a very complex journey in the games as well, so it's not off-brand for him to be the one who betrays Bison. Because when he joins Bison to defeat Ryu because they're like competitive sports rivals, and he hopes like working with Bison will give him a chance for a rematch. Then he gets kind of in over his head, so he quits and kind of goes on a spiritual journey and just goes through this really impressive arc in that regard.
Well, I'm glad they kind of honored that to a degree in this. Did this movie date that? Did they base his redemption on this cartoon, or was it the other way around?
That's actually a good
just
question. I'm
coincidence?
not. No, I think this would be after that because I recognized some of the background characters were from the Street Fighter Alpha games. And that's where that storyline kind of had some of its roots. So I do think they were inspired by that.
But overall,
Go on.
overall, I enjoyed this one. I was fine with it. Kind of interesting, but
Made me want to play Street Fighter more than anything.
yeah, I thought for the most part. I mean, I'm not a massive Street Fighter expert by any means, but I thought it took the Street Fighter universe and it crafted a storyline from it that made sense. And after Mortal Kombat, I was fine with that. I understood what was going on here. I knew who the characters were. I knew what their motivations were. It was a pretty sort of straightforward story, and
Yeah.
most part, it's it brought a smile to my face, so I was okay with it.
I'm glad you got a kick out of that. Shall we move on to the spookiest of all three that we would discuss?
Oh, the Morrigan show.
Yes.
Nicely done, love. Here, give us a big kiss.